Hey folks, Jordan with the Young Turks, TYT Politics. It is Thursday, August 31st, and there's breaking news right now. President Trump, at least his administration, is floating that they are going to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, known as DACA. This is from Fox News, so I will put that grain of salt out there. But this could happen as early as tomorrow, which would be Friday. Nomiki Konst, who is a TYT Politics reporter, covered a huge DACA march in New York City last night. Go check that out. On TYT Politics Facebook page. There's many things associated with this that I want to talk about. Let me just read you real quick. President Trump, as early as Friday, is expected to announce plans to end the Obama administration program that gave a deportation reprieve to hundreds of thousands of young illegal immigrants, a senior administration official told Fox News. Trump promised to terminate the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA, during the presidential campaign, but since taking office had left the door open to preserving parts of it. According to the official, Trump is expected to announce the program's end, but will allow so-called dreamers currently in the program to stay in the U.S. until their work permits expired, which for some could be as long as 2 years. The White House suggested Thursday afternoon that Trump has yet to give the final sign-off. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders told reporters at the daily briefing the program is still under review. I don't think they would have floated this unless it's going to happen. Obviously, they leaked this to Fox News. Before I get into my thoughts on it, let me just say this is going to affect, there's different estimates, but around 800,000 people, undocumented immigrants. It's also just beyond even comprehensive, beyond even words, that if they're going to do this, that they would do it while the southern parts of the United States and now the southeast, Louisiana, Arkansas, is being ravaged by a hurricane that most of these areas have never seen this level forces. The fact that the President of the United States would announce this during a hurricane, it's technically a tropical depression right now, but the effects are, if you're watching TV, hurricane forces. Over 30 people have died in Texas. Over 30 people. I think the last count I saw was close to 40 have died already. Hundreds of thousands more displaced. Property destroyed. Businesses destroyed. People injured. People without water, without food. And he's going to announce that he's ending DACA? I mean, whether you agree with his decision or not, it's just beyond comprehension that he would do it now. And let me just read you before I give my thoughts. What he's about to do, if he's doing it, is not very popular. More than NBC News Survey Monkey poll. More than half of Americans disapprove of President Donald Trump's decision to pardon former Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio, while nearly 2/3 said they support a program allowing dreamers to stay in the U.S., which Trump is expected to end, according to NBC News. 6 in 10 said they felt it was wrong for Trump to pardon Arpaio, who was convicted last month of criminal contempt for ignoring a judge's order. 34% of respondents said they felt Trump's pardon was the right thing to do. So, as far as DACA, 2/3 said they support the dreamers staying in the United States. So, the poll also found that 64% of Americans support DACA, the Obama-era program allowing young people, known as dreamers, who came to the U.S. illegally as children to remain here. Some also came legally, but their visas expired. Several government officials said Trump is likely to end the program, possibly by letting it expire over time. So, either Donald Trump doesn't understand politics. I mean, obviously, he's not... Obviously, he's not a good person. Obviously, he's not a good leader. Obviously, he is a white supremacist, which we've seen in Charlottesville. Obviously, he's xenophobic. Obviously, he has been an expert in convincing a lot of poor white people, middle-class white people, that their problems are because of Mexicans and Muslims. Frankly, maybe some of you watching now, because we do have Trump trolls that watch. But what's amazing to me is if he actually wants to win, 64% is not a small number. And you could go different poll to different poll, but you're going to find overwhelming support for keeping the dreamers in the United States, whatever poll you go to. Yet Trump is going away from the polls, and he's going away from common sense, essentially to continue stirring up his base. Because in Trump's mind, and probably Kellyanne Conway and the geniuses around him, basically, Trump's mind is, if I can continue to stir my base against the Mexicans, against the Muslims, if I continue to keep white supremacists hateful, if I am able to continue to keep my base against the media, and I think CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times are fake news in a lot of ways. Not the same ways that Trump makes them out. But you know what? Credit where credit is due. They're doing a damn good job covering this hurricane. They should be talking about climate change more, but they are doing a good job getting the shots, getting the rescues, and showing people how bad it is. Sometimes they do good things, and it's okay to credit them when they do. Most of the time they do not. But Trump has expertly blamed everybody else for the disappearing middle class problems. He has expertly said, well, these kids came over here illegally, so they have to go. Well, let's see what if Ivanka Trump, or what if his wife had come over here through no fault of their own? What if people with money had come over here through no fault of their own? Would Donald Trump be saying the same thing? Donald Trump doesn't care about law and order because he's been breaking laws left and right. Judges, federal judges after federal judge after federal judge has struck down his Muslim bans and other things that were deemed illegal. So this isn't about law and order. This is about stirring his base. Not all are racist. Some are misinformed or uninformed on the effect of undocumented immigrants on the economy or on the country. And some are just racist. Plain and simple. But Donald Trump doesn't care about the polls. He's just banking on, all right, I'll go against the polls now, but I'll keep my base energized. I'll keep Republican donors energized. If he does this quite possibly is the death of the Republican Party. If you saw after 2012, when Mitt Romney with self-deportation, and Mitt Romney did not win that strongly among Latinos, the autopsy for the Republican Party in 2012 said, we need comprehensive immigration reform. We need to become more warm to immigrants. We need to become more welcoming and more diverse as a party. Well, we saw who was elected president as a Republican. So that didn't exactly happen. But what's incredible about this, Donald Trump doesn't care about the Republican Party. And I said it before, Trump would have won whether he was running as a Republican, a Democrat, or a marshmallow. His message of fake populism and stirring up white supremacists worked. It was the right year, the right moment, and it worked. And the Democrats ran a god-awful candidate. Let's just be honest. But I don't know if it's going to work in 2020 when you're going against polls 64%. By the way, you do this, you deport over time approximately nearly 1 million people. You wait and see the unprecedented, historic, and meteoric levels of Latinos that come out to vote against you, President Trump. It's going to be a lot more between Latinos, between African Americans, Asian Americans, indigenous, LGBT, and Trump voters with buyer's remorse. And there was just a poll that showed a lot of Trump voters with buyer's remorse. There is not enough white supremacists in the country that can beat what I just listed. Another thing that I think is really, we need to just face facts. One of the best hopes for this presidency was actually, sadly enough, Ivanka and Jared Kushner. Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, who frankly are more moderate to centrist Democrats. But people said, all right, Trump, his craziest instincts and the worst about him, Ivanka will talk him off the ledge, or Jared Kushner will talk him off the ledge. Well, they haven't been successful. They haven't been successful with the Muslim ban. They haven't been successful with now DACA. Haven't been successful with the Paris Climate Accords, pulling out of that. So I think it's safe to say Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner are a net zero in terms of sanity and pulling this president back from doing the most destructive things. And I will say, it pains me to credit Republicans, but there are some sensible Republicans, the very few left in this country, who have spoken out against Trump doing this. But for the people, trolling right now and saying law and order, yeah, well, How about law and order? Is Trump instituting law and order when he illegally tries to ban an entire religion from the country? Is that law and order? Is Trump executing law and order when he pardons Joe Arpaio, which many reports now say might not even hold up legally? I mean, the list goes on of illegal things Trump has done, or questionably legal things Trump has done. And I don't want to give too much. I don't want to just focus on Trump, because the Democratic Party hasn't been strong enough on this. Barack Obama, when he was president, did this, and it was a good executive action he took. But the Democratic Party should have been fighting a hell of a lot stronger for this and applied the pressure against Trump as far as DACA, but they have not. It's mostly been Latino groups and minority groups, groups like Our Revolution and progressive groups. Leading Democrats have been bloviating about Russia for the last year and Trump's tweets, not DACA. So, what does this mean? I don't like to get into 2020 politics because it's 2017 right now. I think Trump is very, very, very much overestimating the effects of his base. Because I got news for you. If the Democratic Party would have ran a half popular, half normal candidate, even if it wasn't Bernie, but Biden, or somebody who could at least con the people enough into thinking they're for the working class, the Democratic Party would have beat Trump in Michigan. The Democratic Party would have beat Trump in Wisconsin, and the Democratic Party would have beat Trump in Pennsylvania. And right there, folks, was the election. If Hillary Clinton would have won Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, she would be the president right now. And she didn't lose by that much. She lost by 1 percentage point, I think, in all three. So Trump did win the Electoral College by a good amount. But in those states, he did not win, the crucial states, he did not win by a large margin. So if Democrats put forward a Bernie Sanders or an Elizabeth Warren or a Tulsi Gabbard or somebody not corrupt for once in our lives, if they put through a populist, progressive, preferably energetic candidate, I don't think Donald Trump is going to have enough white supremacists and xenophobic people to win Michigan or win Wisconsin or win Pennsylvania or win North Carolina or possibly Florida. Putting aside politics, if this comes to pass, which reports say he might announce it as soon as tomorrow, it is a very sad day. And it's a very scary day. I don't pretend to understand because I'm not black or brown. But just imagine if you're watching, or your friends, or your family, and they now have to wonder, where am I going to go? When am I going to be deported? I've worked my ass off for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years in college, or medical school, or whatever it is. I've gotten married here. I've had children here. This is my home. And now, some madman, to stir up his base of white supremacists, is saying, I'm going to have to go home, even though I've lived here for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years. That's not America. That's not America. And you want to know what? If you want to say they broke the law, it's that simple, then let's go through the list of all the laws broken by Republican politicians. Let's go through the list of all the laws broken by Democratic politicians. Let's go through the list of laws that are not legally or should be laws. Let's go through that list. For people to sit here and say law and order is the definition of white privilege. It's a definition of white privilege. And frankly, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because if you really think that undocumented immigrants or dreamers are the reason America has changed and America is not what it used to be, then you're an idiot. America has changed and America is not what it used to be because the government and corporate America got in bed with each other in the mid to late 1970s. And an oligarchy has formed. That's why you haven't gotten a raise in 15 years. That's why your wages have stayed stagnant. That's why you have to choose between paying for medicine or getting groceries for your kids. That's why you have to wonder, can I put my kid through college? That's why you have to stay home and deal with the pain instead of going to the hospital because you can't afford it. We'll report on this when it's official, but for now, it looks like he's going to do this. Again, I also think it's a terrible political strategy to do this while a hurricane is ravaging through Houston, San Antonio, Port Arthur, all the places that have been hit the hardest by Hurricane Harvey. Louisiana, now Arkansas, they're even talking about Tennessee. Not smart, in addition to inhumane. I'm sure the Young Turks will cover this on tonight's show. Thank you for watching. You can follow me at Jordan Chariton, and you could also, if you want, Chapter 2 of my book, Corporate Con Job. You could download it at corporateconjob.com, is where I talk about how Trump got elected. The title of the chapter is How the Corporate Media Welfare Complex Delivered President Trump, where I explain exactly how media that becomes bought off by corporations delivers a madman as president, because that's what happened, in addition to the Democrats being useless. Thank you for watching.